Oh, g'day guys. Welcome to Life in the Peloton. I'm your host, Mitch Stocker, and we have an absolutely massive podcast for you today. The podcast is being powered by MAAP. Life in the Peloton and MAAP came together to continue to tell the beautiful story of all facets of cycling, whether that be through their cool kit that you see people wearing or over here with the stories that we're telling at Life in the Peloton. It's a really great combination. Tom Boonen. It's happened. Since the conception of the podcast in 2016, there's only one guest I've always wanted to have on, and it's him. My idol. A rider I raced against throughout my career, and especially during the classics, a rider I always looked up to, even though he was a competitor. How could you not love him? He was the complete package. He won Roubaix 4 times, 3 times Flanders, world champion, numerous other classics wins. I can't go through them all. His style on the bike, so classy. But then he was also such a humble rider to race against in the peloton. Not that I was really around him that much in the races, but he had the utmost respect for all the riders in the race, big or small. And I feel the guys I've spoken to too also had the respect for him. You know what, when I was thinking about this, and if I'd ever hoped to have him on the podcast, it was like, there's no way in hell I can record with him online. I've got to do it in person. This one needs to be done right there, sitting across the table from Tom Boonen. Well, the opportunity came, and then I was there, over there in Mole, at his house of all places, sitting with Tom Boonen in his kitchen, recording the podcast. Such a cool feeling. I was a real fanboy that day. But you know what? Once the mic got going, we were just like two old riders having a chat. It's a really nice chat. And I had such a great time talking with him. Could almost say that we're mates now. I don't know if we can go that far. But no, look, he was such a good guy. And it was so fun sitting down recording this podcast I've been wanting to do for so long. Now, you're going to hear me talking about Pillar this year on the pod, and for those who are new to Life in the Peloton, I want to introduce you to a product I've been using really regularly. A bit of background, Pillar is a sports micronutrition company started here in Australia, developing products that intersect between pharmaceutical intervention and sports supplements for athletes. The things we have that keep us going while we're out there racing or just exercising, like electrolytes or carbohydrate products, well, these are the things that help us get to the finish line. Pillar's mission is to get you and athletes to the start line in the best condition over and over again. But it doesn't have to be all about athletic performance stuff, because look, I'm using triple magnesium purely because it makes me sleep that much better. If you're an athlete, an amateur or a pro, whatever, and you're tracking your sleep on a device, you will see the data. It really works. For me, I simply just wake up feeling a hell of a lot more rested. I don't wake up during the night. To be honest, I don't even really remember that much because I fall into a nice deep sleep. You can really notice it once you wake up as well, because you just feel like you've got a great night's sleep, feeling rested, and in turn, a lot more energy throughout the day. Look, I wish I had Pillar when I was racing, because that was something I did struggle with, getting a good night's sleep when I was so fatigued in the middle of a grand tour, knowing you need all the recovery you can get, but it was just hard to get to sleep and have a full night's worth of sleep. I've been taking it about 30 minutes before bed each night. If you want to try Pillar today, head across to pillarperformance.shop and use the code LITP for 15% off your first order. Or our USA listeners, head across to thefeed.com/pillar. Check it out, guys. This is a no-brainer. Good sleep, good recovery. It's really simple. pillarperformance.shop. Guys, sit back, get those headphones on. Wherever you're listening to this, in the car, make sure you got some time, because this is a really special one. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did recording it. Here we go. The legend, Tom Boonen. Tom Boonen.
Hi.
Well, I guess first of all, would you mind setting up where we are?
We're at my house in Mol, and I'm happy to host you today.
I'm very happy to be here. On the entry, it was pretty amazing. Something you've recently just done is you've got on display the 4, not just 4 cobblestones from anywhere.
No, I got the 4 rocks of Roubaix are in the entry hall. They were actually here in the living room, in a closet, just the same as you see them right now, on top of each other. But then the kids came and they started running around, and I was afraid that they were going to pull the closet on them, so the rocks were going to hit them on the head. So I put them away for a while. They were upstairs for a while. And then last year or 2 years ago, I was like, I need to do something with them because they were upstairs and everybody was forgetting about them. So I had the entrance remade and had a nice closet made where the rocks are on the side.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
I couldn't have imagined entering your house any other way. It was very, very cool. Yeah. But I was actually interested in Mol, this area. I think is it called De Kempen?
Yeah, De Kempen. It's
really famous for cyclists around here too, isn't it?
We have a lot of cyclists here. Most recently, the big star now is Wout van Aert here in the region. But even when I was still racing, we had probably 30 pros living in an area, in 30, 40 kilometers around my house. We always had a nice group of training companions. And the region also is very nice. We have a lot of lakes. You can go to Holland, you can go to Limburg, you can go to Liège, to the hills. So we're on the north side of Belgium, but we have a really nice area to train in.
Well, that's what it feels like for me. You're so far away from the region that a lot of cyclists, especially you, are famous for, the Flandrien region. Well, no, you're in Flanders, but I mean that the Flandrien hills. Yeah, what hills. I'm trying to think of the word.
We call them the casques, the small steep climbs. You know.
Yeah, right.
That's what we say, but I think you guys call them the bergs or the Flemish hills.
The Flemish Ardennes. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, a lot of people always thought that I was born in the region over there, but for me, it's a long way to go there. When I started racing there when I was junior, I think. It was the first time I started seeing these hills. And then I went to a team in West Flanders, so more based in that region. And they got me really focused on doing one-day races, because before that I was more like a time trial specialist.
Yeah, right.
I won as a first-year junior. I won 7 time trials, and I was the youngest guy competing in the World Championship that year. But then the year after, I went to Kortrijk. The Groeningespurters was their name. They really said you need to try this because you're explosive and you're strong. And then I started doing more one-day races. And then from there on, I fell in love.
Well, is it just through the racing that you learn those roads? Because I think a big element and something that foreigners have to do, I sound like it's really hard, but I wanted to come up here and live in Belgium during the Classics, to experience the atmosphere, to feel like I understood what was going on, the hype of the Classics, but also to train on the roads. Because I think there was something different for me than when I raced on the roads. They feel different than when you just train on them, and create my own memories on these roads, coming into these iconic climbs and remembering something from a training ride. Was it just racing in that region for you that you got familiar with the roads, or was it about racing there so much as a junior? Is that the thing with the Belgian riders?
In general was the racing, but like I said, when I got my driving license, I could go to the team more often. So we used to drive there once or twice a week during winter time, mountain biking or do a nice road training there. So that was they're based in Lendelede. It's next to Heidelberg. It's a really small village. So that's where I really started to fall in love with those really typical roads. The roads, you can't get any speed for free. You have to push, and you have the concrete and then the smaller roads. And that's when I really started to fall in love with that roads and the sort of racing that you're able to do there, small and narrow and speed. And but most of all was the racing. If you do 20 training rides there in the winter time, it's not gonna make the difference. You need to race on them and then really feel how it goes and where you can make the difference and where are the bottlenecks. Because everybody always looks at the climbs in Flanders.
Yeah.
But the big difference is made before the climb, which you can't see on television. When the damage is being done, then the climb happens, and then on top of the climb, the difference appears.
Yeah.
But it's a very complex way of racing, and I really loved it.
Well, speaking of the roads, I was going to speak about this later on, but we might as well go straight to it. I think they call it the Boonen, the Tyenberg. One of the famous climbs from a lot of the races, we used to do. I used to experience it way down the back and just try and get up there.
Where you don't want to be.
Because of you. But why was it this climb? Let me just set this climb up. You might know the statistics about this climb. Do you actually know the gradient and stuff?
Not out of my head, but I think it's probably 7 average and then 18. No,
right on it.
Yeah?
7.2%. This is what I found. 18%. It goes up to 18%. I was actually surprised when it said 7% because obviously at the top it flattens off.
But I think they don't measure really the flat part after.
Don't they?
I don't know. I have no idea.
800 meters in length. But explain this climb for everyone because this was your climb. You went there, you broke the race up there, you set up a lot of your wins at E3 at this climb. Why this climb? Why did you get the connection at this climb?
Yeah, because it's you can't get any more typical than the Tyenberg. It's short, it's really short, narrow. You have the gutter on the side, which they can't use in Flanders, but we could use it in all the other races. So the difference is being made by the peloton just narrowing up. Everybody wants to be in the gutter there because the moment you are on the cobblestones for 50 meters, you're 50 positions back. So you can really get your speed up. Keep your speed up in the gutter. And that's the difference, It's you need to have the positioning in front of the climb, be second, third position before you hit the gutter and then just get on the lead and then just tear everything up. And the nice thing about it is really steep, but it lengths out, it flattens out on the top. So that's where you can make the difference. And probably, I don't know how they measure it right now, but for my stamina, my body, it was perfect. You could survive the steep part, make some damage, and then just put a big sprint on it on top of the climb and then make the difference.
Well, your legs apparently are at the top of that hill now, or somewhere on there, the statue of your legs, isn't it?
They told me I went up there like more than 20 times in the lead of a big race. I
believe that.
Yeah, and in the end, after my career, the mayor called me. It's like, we're having this little project, and we want to do a statue for you up there. And it's like, statue. And I think I just saw the Ronaldo statue. The face that would that's
like a Rocky Balboa statue,
like a wax statue, but the eye is like really almost melted. So I was like, if you want to put a statue there, I want to be a little bit involved. And then they put out this. A game to the artist, like you can send something in and then we'll see what it is, and then we'll make up a jury and Tom will be in there. And I thought it was a really cool statue, just having the legs there, and they made it for me. So it's real. It's my legs. They took a mall out of it, I think.
Yeah.
And then they put them in bronze up there, but it's nice.
Did you feel the pressure to get your legs in condition for that day?
Yeah, but it didn't work out, man. I was like, it's like, I don't know, like 2.5 years ago or something. As they're still big, but they're not skinny anymore.
Well, did it become with this climb? Because I could imagine, yes, it suited you physically, but I'm sure some other climbs you could argue suited you as well. Did there come a point like, this is my climb? Psychologically, no one's going to try and take me on here. Every time I've got to smash it up here. Like, it just became a thing?
Yeah, because when I started doing it on the Tyenberg, I was never intending. I mean, the climb was there, and you're checking out the race parcours and the circumstances in the race. You start thinking about how I'm going to use it. But I think the first time we really went up there hard was in Roubaix 2004 with Clear. The year after it happened again with Balan. The year after, you're going into the run to the Tyenberg. I'm in front, like, let's try it again, and then it started to become a thing. And then from that point on, you just want to, when you see the climb coming, it's going to hurt in the back. So you start using it over and over again, and then it became a thing.
Yeah, well, the team, I can imagine, we've been talking about it. We're going to hit the Tyenberg, and all the riders, the teammates would have got G'd up by it. We've got to set Tom up for the Tyenberg. Was it fun talking to the boys about that?
Yeah, but like I said, the first time I think I was probably the only guy in front when I rode away with Clear. But then the years after, like I said, it started to become a thing. So everybody started to get like on the boat. We need to get in front there. So the run to the Tyenberg always started to become longer and longer.
Way longer, like 2 kilometers before.
Everybody knew it was coming. So we were already racing like 25, 30 Ks full speed to get
this bloody climb.
From this climb. And then the explosion was even bigger. So the way that we started to approach the climb made it even worse because everybody was suffering for 30 minutes already. But then it was something that we I try to do every time because it's one of those climbs where you can really damage everyone.
I want to go back and talk about 2002, your first Roubaix. Because it's just amazing to see that. It's lots of things with this. Obviously, your first Roubaix, a great result. You ended up finishing third there. But it's a wet Roubaix. And like, can you tell me a little bit about that race coming into Roubaix? I guess you may have not had the connection with the race yet, or maybe you had. I didn't know what you did as a junior. Tell me a little bit about your first Roubaix.
Like I said in the beginning of our talk, I started racing with Kortrijk, and there was a team there. They're based all the way up in West Flanders, so close to the French border. And we were already doing some races in France already that year. I think I was still 17 that year. I turned 18 in October, so 17 for the entire season. And then we were going to do Roubaix, the junior Roubaix. So I was really keen on doing it, but I had absolutely no idea if I was going to be good or if I was going to suck at it. And
is this the one that is at a separate time of year or in the morning before the pros?
It's in the morning, I think.
Okay.
But then it was like in May.
Okay.
If I recall.
So completely different.
It was a little bit more green.
Yeah. Okay.
And warmer. I think we had like 25 degrees and there was some green in between the rocks, and so also a little bit more slippery, but it was okay. The rocks weren't, the cobblestones changed when the grass is coming out. They get easier because the grass fills the rocks up a little bit more, and the sand is stuck in between the grass. So if it rains a lot the week before and the wind comes out, all the sand is gone, then the rocks are really hard. So it changes. But that day was a nice day, and we started racing and ended up, I think, with 7 or 8 guys or 10 guys in front. 12 guys in front. And then Thor Hushoff was there, and he won the race the year before as a first-year junior. He started attacking, so I didn't know who Thor Hushoff was, but I saw the result from the year before, so I was following him a little bit. And then in the end, they got away with 4 or 5 guys, and I got stuck behind with the other 6. And on the last cobblestone section in Hem, I got away alone. I almost bridged the cross, and I arrived at the track in Roubaix. And I started closing on them. They were waiting to start a sprint.
Oh, yeah.
And the moment they started sprinting, I was like 5 meters behind them, and I didn't make it. I got 6th that day. So 5 guys in front, I got 6th. And that was my first Roubaix. So I crossed the finish line, on the grass.
Yeah.
Like breathing.
The images that everyone sees.
And I was like, my eyes were like this, like, whoa, I want to come back here.
Yeah, cool.
It was my first big result in a big major one-day race, if I remember well. And then I did well in a lot of other races that year. And then the year after was my first year as an espoir then. And I think I got like 4th or 3rd at the year.
Yeah, right.
And then the year after, I was really going for the win. And then those guys, I can't really recall the name of the team, but it was like an Italian team that had all these big Ukrainian names, like Bernucci was there, the Italian guy, and Popovic.
Oh, yeah, right.
And like big guys, like power guys. And Popovic, he rode away before we saw any cobblestones on his own. And he won the race like with 3 minutes in advance. So like he was off the charge. And I got behind him in the end, like at 50 Ks to go with Bernucci in my wheel and another guy, also a teammate of him. So I had 2 teammates of the guy in front in my wheel, and I'm just pulling them to the finish line. So 4th again. And then the last year as an Espor, I got 3rd. And then I turned pro, so I didn't win it. I was always in front.
Yeah, but you're always in the front, though.
I started to feel the race and learn the race. And then I knew I was good at it. I started to feel like on the right day, maybe in the far future, I can do well in it as a pro. And then I went to Postal the year after, and we had a pretty good classics team, not a major one, but we had George there and Ekimov, and we had some good guys who could finish up front. And I was a domestique. I was helping them out in all the races. We didn't have a really big program before the classics. I just did some races in the States, like Redland and Sea Otter Classics, so some stage racing in the States. Came back the week before the Panne, and I did the Panne. It was my first race as a pro in Belgium. And I got 6th in the general, and 6th in the time trial, and 6th in the general. And then Dirk de Mol came up to me like, hey man, if you're going to help these guys, but keep your focus, you can do a good result. Huh? So we did Flanders, and there was a Flanders that Taffy won, I think. And I was in the group behind them, but Cipollini was there.
Yeah, right.
And he was actually capable of winning that Flanders. They had some guys pulling him to the finish line, and we almost sprinted for the win, and I got like 12th or 13th.
In the front group already.
Yeah, like there was a group before in front of us, but we almost got them. Like it was a story of the year. And then Ghent Wevelgem came. Also got 6th there, also with 12 guys in front, and was the one that Cipollini won. And then Roubaix. So the morning of Roubaix, I was growing in the spring classics, and we went to Roubaix. We didn't actually done a recon or something, so we just
straight into it.
Straight into Roubaix. So the night before the race, I went to our mechanic. I said, "Yeah, can you put double bar tape on my bike?" He's like, "What? Double bar? Why?" The bikes were completely standard. So the only thing they changed, we had like 25 millimeter tires on them. It's like, yeah, if you want to, okay, he'll do it. Put double bar tape on the bikes.
Why did you do that? Had you seen that before? Were you doing that already?
I did it already with it as a youth rider. I have big hands, if I want to have control on the handlebar, and from that moment on, I thought I think I used it for every race actually. So, but okay, there was a little bit of a discussion going on because this young kid, he asked it for 15 euros of bar tape extra on his bicycle, and it was a little bit too much.
And also, like, how would he know? What would he need? He's just a neo.
It's his first race here. And I talked to Derek the night before because I saw the weather forecast, not even on my phone then. I think we read it in the papers back then. And I saw the weather forecast, and I saw the wind was like really, nasty wind in the start, like tailwinds from 45, 50 degrees tailwind from the start, and rain. I was like, Derek, can I try to get in the front in the breakaway? It's like, yeah, if you want to be in the breakaway, be my guest, George will come. So the race happens, and we're going really fast, and one breakaway goes, another one goes, and it's like splitting up, and there's some echelons coming up, and suddenly, I'm in front with like 30 guys. Dream scenario. 1 minute, 1 minute 50. And the guys started chasing in the back, they're suffering as well. So the race is going on, and we hit the first cobblestone sections, and I'm just going in second, third position, and just easing back, finishing 25th, next one.
You were thinking about the finish at that point.
Saving energy. I really thought I was going to be in the front group already, so just riding the race like I would as a junior, not being impressed by the greatness of the event, not really thinking I'm like, who am I here in front with? It was big names already there. 50 Ks to go. There was only 10 guys left, and then the big guns went behind us at the forest, and they started to catch up with us. And then suddenly, you're in front of the race, and Museo passes you with Hinkepie, and George I said, "You still good?" "Yeah, I'm still good." But I saw already in his eyes like, yeah, I'm still good. And his one eye was this way, and the other one was the other. And then Museo got in front alone. I was I don't really recall the name of I can see it in my head. There was some oil on there, and I was going to the back to get bottles. And just before I hit the car, like Dirk's like, "Be careful! You just announced on the radio there's oil on the next cobblestones." So I tried to get back in front, but I was like in 3/4 of the group when we hit the cobblestones, and somebody crashed, and Johan got away. Like he pushed, and somebody crashed, and he got away. 40 Ks to go. And then I went to George. We were hitting cutting off to the cobblestones. He's like, "Yeah, I started pulling." So I start pulling full speed. We go into this little village, and behind me is like
crashing.
3-4 guys went out of the corner. So there's a gap, and I just like, okay, I'm pulling anyway. So I keep pulling it, and they never came back. And George was just sitting in the wheel, and he tried to pull, but he was fucked. There was nothing left. He was just out of sugar and finished. And then he crashed in the ditch, and I was there on my own. 15 Ks to go. 5 Ks from the finish line, Wezenman catches me. And at that point, I was in the wheel, and I was like the last part going uphill there in the city center. I was so fucked. My legs were empty, and I just sit in the wheel like, just need to go to the track. And then, I finished third in my first one, but was completely empty.
Yeah.
It was 250 Ks in a breakaway that day, yeah.
It's an amazing story. I can draw some correlations to that. The only time I've had success in the race was when I was in the breakaway, and the same feeling I had. I made the textbook mistake that you didn't make this year before I was in the break, and the race was so great, and I hit every cobblestone sector on the front. And I was like, "Oh, I'm in the front at Roubaix." Of course, I got dropped, and I finished way back. The next year, I happened to get in the break, and I took on what you learnt already in your first year. Hey, this is my opportunity. When you arrived with Cancellara and whatever, I had that feeling that you explained then, wow, these guys are here. Yeah. I didn't go on and finish third that year, but I was able to stay with you guys. It is such a big advantage being in the front as a young rider to use that to your advantage, isn't it?
Yeah. You have to be, you have to ride with your own possibilities from at the moment. I was my first big appearance in a very long race. I only did Flanders. the week before was my first 265k race I ever did. So, you have to be smart. Even the weather was really bad, so you need to spend a lot of energy. And I was just thinking about how would I do this as a junior. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was trying to just stay focused on myself and not, like I said, not being taken away by enthusiasm of the greatness of the event and just racing like I always raced and just being smart a little bit and save energy where necessary so you can spend it when you need it.
Pretty mature at age. What were you, 21?
21.
Yeah, 21 then. So why not Postal then? Like US Postal at that time was, Lance was in, 2 wins already at the Tour or whatever it was. And then, Johan Brunel, Belgian, but, famous big influence on you, I'm assuming. Why not Postal after that?
It was circumstances. I was with, like I said, Kortrijkse Groeningen Spurters, my youth team, and Dirk was there. Dirk actually... Because it's a story with two sides. We had a big cycling team here that was led by Herman Frison. It was the MAAP team, the MAAP young guys squad. And but they took all the young good riders, and I was the only guy in Kortrijk together with Gore Cardijn a little bit who could compete against them. So all the classics as a young guy, I was fighting against 7-8 guys of the same team, and I was a little bit angry of them, you know. And then Dirk came and said okay, let's go to Kortrijk and we'll try to set up a nice team for you there. And then the year after, or 2 years later, he went off to Postal to start working with Johan. So he started following me, and my second year as an Espoir, I was 19. I did a stage contract with them, so I did the Tour of Poland and Franco-Belge and maybe 1 or 2 one-day races. And it went really well. So they said, hey, you want to come on training camp with us? So I did the December and the January training camp with Postal in Spain as a 19-year-old kid. It's like...
Nice.
Yeah, it's big. You're riding in this Nike kit, nice Oakleys on. Oh, yeah. You get the Nike shoes. And so I was like living the dream, and they supported me a little bit. And then they said, if you want to turn pro next year, you can. I wasn't ready for it. So I said, okay, can you make me this promise? Give me another year. And they're like, we'll see.
You made this decision, or you had people around you to give you advice?
I made a decision. Wow. I wasn't feeling ready. My second year, I was good already, and I think I won 12 races, but I wasn't the rider that I wanted to be yet. I was suffering a lot uphill still, and 82 kilograms, and I needed to improve a little bit more. So I started working my ass off and did the 2 training camps, did another 2 training camps on my own, just going to Spain in the wintertime, going to the Ardennes a lot every week. And then my third year as an amateur, I got second in Liège-Bastogne-Liège, second in, what's the name again? It's 2 really hard races here in Belgium. And I wasn't the best guy on the climbs, but I could follow the good guys, like the Popovic guys and these guys, so I could follow them. It's okay, now I think I'm ready. And I won 17 races that year. And said, now I think so. I think I can turn pro. And then I had some interest from Française de Jeu, and Domo just arrived. So the MAAP squad, the Belgian squad from MAAP came to Belgium and turned into Domo. But that was the point that I was going to make. The amateur team of Domo, led by Herman Frison, they were always racing against me. So Herman said, if you take him and you don't take anyone of my team, why are we doing this? So I was already a little bit of friends with Wilfried Peters, and Wilfried said, it's strange, Herman's completely against you. He doesn't want you to come to our team. We can't make you an offer. It's I understand, I can go to Postal. And in the end, I said to my dad as well, if I go to Postal, I can do all the classics that I want. I'll have a really easy program. There's no pressure. I can go racing in the States a little bit, out of the eyes of everyone, and just come here, do the classics. I think I did 65 races that year, so nothing big. And in the end, it was the right decision. I could really show myself already in Flanders, in Wevelgem, and in Roubaix. And I was never going to be in the team when I went to Domo with Museo and Knaven and those guys.
So why not after 2002? I'm assuming you signed a Neo Pro contract a couple of years, and why did you decide to move on to Quickstep then?
Yeah, a lot of things happened that first year. I was super happy with these guys, and also with the teammates and George and Christian and everything, and they were really nice to me. And but then the tour happened. I went to the tour because they want to open my contract, put on an extra year, because I was making $30,000 a year. I wasn't making any money. and I turned. I was better than George in the sprint classics, and I was making $30,000 a year, and I was fine with that. But then they called me like, "Yeah, we want to open your contract and add another year." Okay, I had no manager. I think I was doing everything on my own. So I went to the tour. It started in Luxembourg to talk about my contract. So I arrived there, and it's like they made me an offer like of 60Ks. Like maybe I have to check this out a little bit. So
is this right?
This doesn't sound a lot for a guy who's done a podium. And then,
but also the classics before. It wasn't just one out podium.
No,
you spoke about Flanders in the front group. Wevelgem.
I was like, from probably quality in the sprint classes, I was probably top 10 out of everyone. You know, like I could maybe sometimes make a difference, sometimes not, but I was in the top 10 of the quality of the riders of that sprint classics campaign. And then I called Paul de Geiter, who I didn't know yet. And I said, like, Paul, I have a question because the team wants me to take a manager, but it was an American manager. And the manager, he was the guy who proposed like the 60Ks, like that's what you have to earn. I said, I think it's strange. And then we started talking, and he's like, oh, you have to make a lot more money than that. I mean, it's not about making just the money. It's, it's a little bit about respect because you're going to close a contract for another 2 years. Maybe you'll win one next year. And then, and that's when the talks, he called Patrick. He's like, what if I give you Tom Boonen? And he's like, but he's not free. Yeah, but maybe he will be. And then, from one thing came another. And then the team, the first year of Quick-Step David Amon was the year after. And I saw the riders who were going there. I was like, I need to be there. I need to be there from the start. Johan was doing another 2-3 years max. I was 21 years old. There was a spot available at probably the best classics team that was ever going to ride the hills. And as just said, I did everything that I needed to go. And then, we broke the contract, we went to court and we settled everything. And the year after, I rode for Patrick. And that was probably the best decision of my life.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say. From there on, you rode with Quick-Step for your whole career.
Yeah.
I guess, you spoke about Postal being an opportunity because the classic squad, I wasn't going to say it wasn't super strong, but there was opportunity for you to slot in there because, it wasn't jam-packed of massive classics guys. Did that attract you then at Quick-Step that you could try and lift with the bigger names there? Like this classic squad they were building?
Yeah, like the first year was a big question mark for everyone. Even for me, I wasn't expecting to get a podium finish in Roubaix. I wasn't expecting to do well in the classics. I was just like, we'll see, prepare myself the best way possible, go there and we'll see. But then after finishing 6th or 7th in the Panne, you're just like, okay, maybe there's something in the legs. But I didn't know this was going to happen. I was sure that I was going to get a spot to do the classics because they had to look for 8 guys. Like, I really called, you really don't want to come? But the top 3 guys were good, like Ekimov, Van der Velde, and Hinkepie. They were good guys, they cared about me, and they really, they took me in as a family member, and I was feeling good. But then the year after doing this thing, you want to have a strong team. You don't just want to have a team that goes there just to see what happens. And George was still trying to win classics, but he was on his own, And I wanted to compete myself against better riders, with more better riders in the same team. And then I came with these guys, and I just felt the way they approached the classics was the way that I wanted to approach the classics. I was like they say here, the Holy Week, but it was a holy 6 months before already. Trained like hell, And,
everything leading to the classics. It's like this
crazy training rides with these guys. Like if we were in Spain with Postal, I would train with the tour team, just doing long rides, but it was easy. I mean, easy. They go hard, and we raced each other sometimes.
But it's different.
But then I went to Quick-Step, and we started training. And in the December training camp, we were racing each other for like an hour and a half on a 5-hour ride, and it was like, fuck, every day, But also at night, it was fun. It was atmosphere. Like the new guys all had to buy everybody a bottle of wine at night. And then, they started to create a team, and it was super fun. And then when the first races happened, you wanted to fight for each other. We built like a small community of guys who really wanted to fight for each other and die for each other. And it was super fun period in my career.
Do you remember like that? I can imagine those guys you're talking about, Johan Museo especially, they sort of knew like some little tricks to the racing the classics and picking up things like that off those guys who have lived in Belgium, well, you obviously being a Belgian too, but, lived and breathed the classics their whole career. You come with them. Were you learning stuff off them?
Yeah, but Johan is a different guy.
Yeah, right.
At that point in his life, I think now he's super relaxed and super chill about everything, and he can talk about everything. But at that point, he was a closed guy, and he was always seeing enemies everywhere, and then he
didn't want to give you a tip in case you came over the top of it.
You had to look and find what you need. And Johan wasn't telling you anything that would help you, but you could steal with your eyes. And I had Knave there, and Knave was completely opposite. And I was sleeping with Kretskes in the room or with Knave in the room. So I had a lot of guys where I could really steal with my eyes from. And but Johan wasn't the guy who was gonna go up to you and say like, yeah, this is a trick I always use, and you can always go there on the inside of the corner. You can pass 5 guys if you're blocked, and you have to just look at him, man. And after that, I was super happy that I could do my first real years as a pro with the team, and having Johan next to me. He wasn't my big example when I was a kid, but seeing him and the way that he did those races, like he was a proper Flandrien, he was that was everything he done, and it was nice.
Tell me about 2005 then, because you go across the quick step, like 2005. It's a year you do the triple, Flanders, Roubaix, and world champion. Your age, 25 years old, I think.
24.
Yeah, 24. And it's like, for anyone, that's like career done and dusted. This is like what you would ever hope to have in your career. Yeah. Anyone could hope. After that point, I guess your career goes on. It goes on for much, much more. How was it for you at that point as a young guy in the sport, achieving such height? And then in Belgium, I want to understand what this expectation suddenly went from this. Yeah. This guy's coming. It was sort of already building. Johan was talking about you being the next guy to come through. And then suddenly you have this season. It was building up to this. What was the expectation around that for you in Belgium at that point?
Oh, I was also, everything was new to me. I was 23 when I started winning big races. I did Roubaix, Ghent Wevelgem, Schelderprijs in my first year that I could really aim for those races. And then Johan was still there to do Flanders and Roubaix. So that was the leader in the weekend races back then, because the other ones were on Wednesday. So I was the Wednesday guy, and Bettini just said, "Yeah, he's the guy for the midway races, but in the weekend it's up to us." So I was fine with that, you know. I just helped these guys out, and if I can sprint in Roubaix and Ghent Wevelgem and win them, was fine with me. So, but the year after, it was up to me, and we going into I won Roubaix and again, so I was pretty sure that I was going to be good. But I was the first time I was starting as a leader in Tour of Flanders. And Flanders, I was super focused. It was probably one of my best days on a bike, and focus-wise, I was like, I didn't make any mistakes, and just in this zone, for 2 hours and a half in the final. And then we got up front with these guys, and I started to look around, and I was feeling okay, but I wasn't feeling really super. We were going really fast. There was Andreas Klier there with Van Petegem. He's like, they're friends, and I think one of the two was the godfather of the other one's child. So like, And then you had these two Italians there, like Balan and I can't remember the other one's name. And then there was Zabel, a teammate of Klier.
God.
So I was like, this isn't looking good. If we stay together, they're gonna start attacking me, and then you're gonna lose the race. You can't keep back 5-6 guys. So Van Petegem went on the Bosberg, and I countered him, and I went for myself. But I didn't really have the energy left, so everybody just crawled back together. And then there's a little bit of a flat descent, like it's a little bit a false flat descent. And I got again the attack, and they were going hard. Bam. And Van Petegem goes again. I was like, I need to give him an answer, And I just didn't think about it, so I came across, I bridged across, and I took all my speed and just went to the other side of the road. And everybody was like this, because I felt like I didn't have anything left, so I thought the other guys are going to be equally fucked. So I went full to the right, and they had to sit down, like, oh.
Yeah.
And then they started looking at each other a little bit, and I got 5-10 seconds, 15 seconds, and I was off. It was the right call. And then just going there, still being in the zone, focus, and we're going to Middelbeek, and then there's a last 2-3% gradient, big road going up there, and on top of that, it's downhill, right, finish line. So I'm heading the top of the climb, and I said, "There's my first finish line, or
nice.
my 50th finish line of the day." And then it's a little bit of a descent, and on top of that, I was getting a little bit out of the zone, and I look right, and my parents are there.
Oh,
and
perfect! Right at the right moment.
Still get it,
yeah.
And then I got out, and I was like, oh, "I'm gonna win Flanders," And then there was 2.5 Ks left, and it was the best moment of my life, man.
Coming up that iconic finish line,
and then having time, finishing your first Flanders and having a minute. You can enjoy. You don't have to rush for it. It was beautiful.
Was it starting to build up? This people starting to talk about your name, obviously, from Postal from those days. But I want to try and understand what it's like for you, because in Australia, cycling it's getting bigger, but it's nothing like here, and it's nothing like here anywhere in the rest of Europe. I don't think this period, being a Belgian, being a classic star, especially. I know you've spoken about this a lot, but. Understanding the expectation that people are putting on you after this year, but also going on and using that and still succeeding later in your career, because it could have crushed you ultimately. Suddenly you come to this height after 2005, this big expectation from everyone, and you can't handle the pressure. Try and help me understand what is that like here?
It's sometimes crazy, but I think a lot of people said this about me afterwards, like, I was the first guy of the new cycling, and I don't mean anything doping-wise or anything, but you had all these Museo, and before that, like I said, of Vlaming, that's like Flandrien guy type, and you had the guys going to the race, but I was the first rider who probably was in all the girly magazines as well in Belgium, and had the kids coming to the race, so it was a new era of cycling, and it was all the people, it was families coming to the race more than the guys just going to the race. And I think that changed also the way that in general Flanders looked at me and the population, and there was a lot of pressure. And then back then, it was only like in the time we only had the media, so the media delivered, and now you have social media and everything changed. You can get a story out by yourself as well. We couldn't do that; we needed the media. But I never had big issues with it, but it was pretty tough sometimes, especially after that first year. And you're setting just a precedent. You're winning 3 major races in a year, so everybody's expecting you to do it every year again.
Yeah.
And I was always good in the classics, and I tried to do my best, and I won a lot of them, but I didn't win a big one every year. Like, even the biggest riders in history haven't won a classic every year, and it's super hard. But then you hit this point where there's, I think, like a little bit of a saturation, They're like, okay, this guy's always there, but some new guys were coming. And then, that's it. That did me well, It was more spread out a little bit with Van Avermaet coming, and they weren't really on the same level, but it helped. Yeah, then my career just happened, and at a certain point, I did 2010. I didn't win anything. I got second everywhere. Second in Sanremo, second in Flanders, second in Harelbeek, and then I think 4th or 5th in Roubaix. And that was like, in the media, they called it a disaster. So I was on the podium in 4 major classic races, second place, and like I got killed. I got killed in Flanders. Like, it was finished, and he's over his top, and I was like, what the fuck, you guys got now, like, if you say like Wout van Aert, for example, he gets second somewhere, and no, he's got a good season, and but I got killed, and I didn't understand why. I couldn't really, because there's years you're gonna be better, like with Kanche or with Pozzato even beat me one day in Harelbeek. There's years you're gonna be better, and there's years you're gonna be.
Well, you're human,
like 0.5% is major at the finish of a big race. So, and I was really good that year, but it just didn't work out. And then 2011, I was training super hard. Just, you want to be on that top level again. And I got sick the day before Tirreno Adriatico. No, 2 days before. I was still at home, and we needed to leave for Tirreno, and I got a fever, like proper 40, 41 degree fever. It's like, okay, you need to go there, and we'll see it. Maybe we can fix it. So I went to Tirreno Adriatico, arrived there, fever, some medicine, but 40, 39. In the morning, I got up, 37.8. And what are you going to do? I'm going to start, just being afraid.
I need it.
Not to do the race and not being ready. So I started Tirreno. It was super bad weather, hard edition of Tirreno, and with a fever. And I should never have done it. It really killed me, but I finished the race. So that's when the time trial to recover from that started again. And in the end, I won Ghent Wevelgem. I was getting better, but just circumstances. I was not in the race all day. We got back together in the final kilometer. I don't remember who was in front, but Gert closed the gap, the last 400 meters, and I did one sprint and I won Ghent Wevelgem. But the click came in my head.
You know who was in your wheel that day?
You?
I was.
No.
That's how you won, because I let them all go.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
But Gert did a
He did this because Stannard was in the front.
Yeah.
And we went through the hole. So Gert did this lead out.
It was crazy.
And we went through the hole and everyone else had to go around.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I already did enough to get in your wheel. And then Stegman started and I was like, oh shit, I can't even sprint. I'm sprinting in your wheel. And then when you started, I just was like, oh, I'm fucked now.
I didn't know you were in the wheel, but I like I said, it was circumstances.
Yeah.
I wasn't even close to being the best guy that day, but I won the race. I did a 200-meter sprint and I won the race. But it made the click in my head. And then in Flanders, I was pretty good actually, and I got fourth, and I could have won the race. I think I was again with best top 5, so I was really recovering. And then we went to Roubaix, and like a lot of times in my career, Roubaix was the savior. But I broke my bike in the forest. I got a spare bike. I broke it again, and there was a year where we rode the MX-7, the Merckx frames, and they had to get them ready in like 2 months when the deal was made. I was just shitty bikes, they broke. And then I had to do my one DNF in Roubaix out of my career because I didn't have any bikes left. All the bikes were broken. So that was again. Everybody's like, oh yeah, well, he won against Wevelgem, but he was fourth in Flanders. But
he didn't even finish Roubaix.
Shitty season, eh? Yeah. Shitty season. He's not doing well anymore. So again, with this mentality, I went to the summer break. No, I started the tour, crashed in the tour with 5 guys of the team. We went back for bottles, and I had like 8 bottles in my back pocket, and Gert as well. And Gert was riding in front of me, and I was riding behind Gert. And I think Adi Engels or something hit somebody's wheel. It was a narrow road, and they were pushing. Everybody wanted to go to the front, crash. And I got Gert on top of me, bomb. And my back was completely scratched from top to, and I got an injury on my head. Raced the day after with a concussion. The day after that, I was like, I couldn't follow the peloton, and we were going 30 k's an hour, so I went back home. And then I started training like a maniac after that. I recovered from that, and then I went on a training camp, and I got an injury on my balls. Just opened up, and then that's when Ivan said, like, listen, if you want to compete again and stay a racer, then you need to recover from this. It's gonna keep opening up, and you're out of. So it took me like 3 months off the bike, but I did everything you can imagine. I went running, I went hiking. We did like 40k hikes here in the forest and to the Ardennes, and after a month or so, I was starting to feel like reborn.
Yeah,
like
nice.
I wasn't touching the bike, but I was feeling fit, and my balls were recovering. So after that, probably third week of October, I started training again with the guys, just in the normal time. And I felt like there was something different. I was recharged. I was out of the spotlight for a while, did some different stuff, didn't touch the bike, I think, for like 80 days. And I was starting training again, did some power training, and then I was feeling explosive and fresh. And I did a hard training winter and then 2012, I was just top level. Yeah.
And what are you thinking now with a guy like Remco? Like, can you see some similarities maybe with, I'm talking about the external public, and just like what you were able to do there are times where you think, well, you can see he needs to just get out of the bubble. He needs to break away from it. Or, can you see that similarities, maybe what he be going through?
I know him a little bit. I've spoken to him like maybe 10 times, and we did a small bike ride together when he was still a junior. He was riding with my team, like my kids' team here in Balen BC, the Royal Balance a Bicycle Club. But they do a very good job with kids. So Remco was racing with them, and that's the first time I heard his name. But they said, like, this guy is something special. But you hear that every year, so you're not really blown off your socks. But then I saw him racing. I was like, he's strong. Cool. But still, as a junior, I saw also a lot of good juniors who never went anything as a pro. Yeah, he's an amazing rider. He's a special character. He's super focused on his own. And I think he has everything necessary to be a big champion. We'll see about all the rest, but I don't know, times has changed as well. Like, I think people these days are, let's say, more cautious on saying something as well. Like with all the inclusivity, and people are afraid to attack somebody as well. Like just because everybody has a voice right now with social media, so people can respond to articles. Whereas in our days, the media was the media. If you had a journalist that didn't like you, or
you just had to take it.
You had to take it, you know, and then they set out this atmosphere that other people start to go with, like, he's done. Like I said, I had a few years that they really wrote me off, where I was still winning races in the Classics campaign. And I have the impression right now that there's more like a softness in the media. They don't really want to go straight into somebody, but we'll see.
So you think in those times for you, did you consciously take yourself, after you learnt this about, well, you got forced to have a break, right? To go and do, hiking and get out of the bubble. Yeah. Did you take that on afterwards and go, when the pressure was building and things like that, you remembered that time to go, I need to take a step away from the bubble? How were you able to balance this throughout your whole career and relax?
I think I just grown up by that.
Just got hardened by it.
Yeah, because all that happened before that just was, racing life as a career, I had a few injuries, but nothing big, like crashed a few times, also again, nothing big, just major bike rider stuff. And the pressure was there because you're on the top level winning races, but I thought it was normal, and I didn't dislike it. I just sometimes looked at it like, fuck, this is strange, I'm not doing that bad, but they're killing me. And it wasn't like that always, and it wasn't always by the same. It wasn't always the same people that did it. So it wasn't. My life wasn't a nightmare, just to be straight. But then this happened, and I was off the bike. And I think in those 10 years, just I grew up as a person, as a rider, and I felt what was good for me and what wasn't, and you're starting to build a little bit more of a wall around you as a person, and you can take a lot of more. Of if somebody says something, you're like, just let it be, you don't want the drama anymore, and just do whatever you like and race and
it's just it sounds like it's just your mentality, the person you are. You're able to be quite relaxed. You're quite a relaxed person. It's something actually I wanted to talk to you about today too, is I feel like you're the last person that I remember in my time that really had that respect in the peloton from the riders. And we talk about these chiefs in the bunch, and the boss of the bunch, someone who could enough's enough or call it, and the riders actually respected and listened to. I feel like there is no one like that in the bunch, and for a long time since you retired, I feel like you were the last guy. I remember in 2015, I think it was, in Oman, we were racing there. It was really hot. We went down this climb and they were trying to cancel it, and then Eddie Merckx was there because he was involved with organising it, and you were just like, no, we're not racing. That's it.
You know how much shit I got with.
Yeah, I know, but you stood up for it. No one's willing to do that now.
It wasn't only about the temperature. I mean, I remember we going downhill, this really steep
and we're
descent,
in neutral, and the wheels were popping.
The tires were just exploding.
Yeah.
Like, boom, boom, 3-4 times crashing. And it was the road was 80 degrees or something. It was super hot. So we get down there. We haven't raced yet, and I was like, it's not safe. And then Eddie came up, but he had like probably a good deal there to be there and promote the race. So he was super pissed, and straight into my face. I was like, Eddie, it's not safe. If somebody dies here today, you're gonna be the guy responsible. If you're gonna, you have to race, and we raced all the time, and okay, but your tires weren't blowing in the descent. I said you would have done the same. I think at that point, I was already mature enough to stood up to him a little bit, but it's still Eddie Merckx.
Yeah.
And in Belgium, they made a big deal about it, like they always do. It was the right thing to do. I wouldn't feel comfortable living my life if somebody, if then you say, okay, yeah, you're right, let's race, and somebody crashes and kills himself, and in that descent, you could kill yourself. You know where I'm talking about?
Yeah, it was super dangerous.
Super dangerous descent.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure when you're braking, your tire's going to blow off. I'm not riding the bike that day. Yeah?
I've been in the situations myself where you know that, but it's actually having the guts to stand up to these guys. I remember the Sheiks were there and they were putting all this kind of pressure on. But I guess one thing I was sort of thinking about was in the bunch, you had that respect that the riders listened to. You, for me anyway, you were one of the only guys, was probably to my detriment, that if you came up next to me, I'd be like, oh, in you go, mate. You know, you get the wheel. Anyone else, I'd fight. I'd be like, no.
That's why I won more than 100 races.
Yeah, well, did you know that? Like, did you feel that in the bunch, that you had the respect and you could sort of maneuver and use it to your advantage?
It's not something that you think. I mean, I was being myself when I was born until this day.
You were.
I didn't try to act as somebody else or play a role in the peloton or being this big general that commands everyone. When I spoke to somebody, I was speaking to him because I wanted to speak to them, and I was generally concerned and listening. And I think, you know, when you're riding together, and that was something that I really was, I put it high on my
priorities.
Yeah. I think, and that's what's missing these days a lot. It's like you're all in the same circus. You're just playing a role in the same circus, and you're racing hard. But in the end, you know, how much you suffer is up to you. It's up to us. It's up to everyone together. Just try to be human with each other, help each other out, and when somebody has a problem, talk to them or listen to them. But if you look at races these days, it was already races was already very hard when we were racing. But if you look at the Tour de France now, like the jumbo guys always attacking in the start, like why? The race is the race. The kilometers are the kilometers you have to do. The way you do them, it's up to you. You don't have to attack in the start. It's because you want to fuck these guys up. And it's the difference in a one-day race where you know there's a start and a finish on the same day. But in stage racing, if I look at it I think it's like unrespectful to the other guys as well.
Well, we got to talk about it. The one that got away, 2016 Paris-Roubaix. But there's a bit more to the story, I think. You know, I know the Matt Hayman side. He was in my team. You know, I know what he went through to come back from his crash. But actually, you had a bit to come back from too, because 2015 you ended that season with a crash yourself. We
had very similar stories running into that race.
And I don't think a lot of people think like that. That's something I didn't think about.
No. But you were there, you know. You were experiencing it front line. But 2000, I'm gonna talk my side first. 2015 was a very good season, and I was finishing the season on a high, and I was in the Worlds, and they caught me back in the last lap, really dominant in the World Championship in Richmond. Coming back from Richmond, there was a one-day race in Germany, Tour of, like a big one-day race event. I can't remember the name. I won the race. And normally my season was finished, and we're riding back from that race, me and Fieten in the car, and it's like, hey, we want to go to Abu Dhabi, 3-day event, you know, maybe win, and then we will stay for another 2 or 3 days, just a little after season holiday.
Yeah, nice.
It's like, you know, I'm in good shape. I'll go there. So first stage, I got second, and second stage, starting at the racetrack there in Yas Marina, and somehow 40 Ks or 50 Ks into the stage, big four-lane road, going 45, 50 Ks an hour, like, but on those roads, you know,
it's easy.
Wide peloton. So I'm in the back, just spinning my legs, and then suddenly there's a crash. Apparently, Theo Bos ran over this piece of metal, like a piece, you know, from the concrete, like a metal bar. It was falling off a truck. He runs over it. It jumps in his wheel, so he crashes. But I'm behind him, hands on the handlebar, like cruising in it. So I'm trying to avoid him. And the moment I get next to him, but these are stories I know from the guys that were around me, when I get next to him, his handlebar clipped my front wheel, and I go off like this, and I just did a high-sider, and I landed first on my head with all the impact involved, and I cracked my skull, 15-centimeter skull fracture, went through my ear, so I lost the hearing on the left side. And
still today?
Yeah, it's gone. Like
really? Completely?
20-30% left, like having the glass over, you know. But it's okay, I'll learn to live with it. And I was on the ground there, bleeding out of my ears, and I was gone. So I can't really remember anything of that day. And apparently I got back 2 or 3 times, but I was super aggressive, and like all the signs you have when you have a brain injury or a bleeding in your brains. So they took me to a hospital, and I have to say I was really taken care of well. Like the Ministry of Sports there, they put me in the best private hospital and got all the tests and the good doctors there. So I stayed there, and in the end they said, okay, the skull fracture went through your ear, so the pressure buildup was not sufficient enough, so you're fine. You know, you don't have to worry about anything lethal or anything that will limit you for the rest of your life, but you can't ride your bike for 6 months. It was like
6 months.
6 months. I was 35 at the point. So so it's finished.
It's bittersweet news. You know, great, I'm not going to be injured, but you're like, that's it. That's my career done.
Yeah. There's enough riders who are completely damaged and limited for the rest of their life after a crash like that. But in the end, I'm there. I was really not thinking about riding my bike again. I was super tired. I was drained. Like the injury was taking so much energy out of me. And I was really surprised as well afterwards how long it took me to get better. But then in the end, 2 weeks in, 1 week in the hospital, intensive care, just to monitor everything. Not too much screen time, so no cell phones. But I'm there on my own in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, right.
The riders have left. So only the doctors stay with me.
What were you doing?
Yeah.
Thinking.
Looking to a white wall and thinking. Yes, it's really bad.
Thinking about Roubaix.
It was the worst week of my life, man. I couldn't watch television. I'm there like with all these Arabic nurses coming there every once a day to wash me, and that was my highlight of the day. But then after a week, I couldn't fly, so I had to stay there because they wouldn't let me fly. And they gave me a really nice hotel, and they even drove me to the hotel like in a Bentley or something. Like the Ministry of Sport, I think they were just afraid I was going to sue them. That was the thing. But that's racing. So I went to the hotel, and then my wife came up there, and we stayed for another 5 or 6 days just to recover. But all the thing, I was only sleeping. I spent my birthday there in bed, sleeping. And then I did my last checkup 2 weeks after the crash. And I could fly home. But I had small kids here. My kids were like 8 months old back then. So it was a crazy period. And then I got back home, and then the long road to recovery started. But I think I was on the bike again after a month or something. I got the green light from a specialist here. Like I say, it's going to be tough because you're going to feel and look normal. But you're going to be tired after 30 minutes. But I didn't believe him. I was tired after 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it took me so long to be able to train again and feel confident that it's going to be okay in the end. And that was the first time in my life, because if you have pain in your knee or in your arm or you have a broken bone, it's going to get better every day. If you're having the treatment or you're doing the training or the recovery necessary, it's going to get better. But your brain, it's your brain.
It's a funny thing. I've had a similar injury, not as serious as that, but the people who are around you can't see a physical damage.
You can't see it.
So you don't get that sympathy. Not that you want that, but like you've got all road rash on you. People are like, oh, careful,
It's better to have like 4 casks like on your arms and your legs and like, oh, we'll take care of you.
Yeah. But with the head, and even you look at yourself in the mirror, like you said, I'm okay. But what happened to me was I'd think back how I was a week ago. I think I'm okay now. Last week I was crazy.
Yeah.
The next week I think the same thing. Oh, I was crazy last week, but now it just was a strange thing.
Yeah, really strange. But in the end, I got ready for the season and started racing again. But I had like this fear over me, which I have never experienced before. I wasn't fighting for positions anymore. I was giving positions away, and it was like a safety button that jumped on in my head.
Makes the classics difficult.
Very difficult. So going in, I'll skip everything. Got ready for the classics physically. Wasn't my best shape ever, but I felt improvement every race. Going into Flanders.
Were you feeling a lot of pressure, your own self-pressure, because you're getting to the end of your career and public?
I think at that point, I had no pressure. I had pressure, probably everybody was talking about it, but for me personally, I was like, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, okay.
And happy to be on the bike and happy to race with you guys. But Flanders, the last time, the Nieuwe Quaremont downhill, going to the right corner there, I think there was 35 guys left, so not bad to be there. But I just panicked. We went down, and I was like, something happened.
It's pretty crazy anyway.
It's one of the craziest moments in a year.
It's like 100k an hour, 80, 90k an hour down there.
And you have to fight. You have to be there top 10, at least top 5. And I just panicked, and I went to the back. And I sat on last guy. I didn't even fight. Turned right. And of course, you get dropped on
the Quaremont.
On the Quaremont because I was too far back. And
I know about that.
I finished the race, 35th something. Got into the bus. And I was like, fuck. I think the legs were there. I think it's just, I need to make a switch. And I was talking to a sport psychologist already. So he really helped me out. And then I said, Roubaix doesn't have these crazy moments if you can be where you want to be. So I made up a big plan for Roubaix, and we went
A psychological plan or a race plan?
and a race plan. And I had Tony Martin with me that year. And the week before the race, I actually did 2 times, checked out the parcours, checked the wind out, said, the prognosis is going to be this and this and this. I said, we can actually get in front before the forest. And just physically, psychologically, not having to do the sprint to the forest, you know how crazy it is out there, I wouldn't have made it. So we made out this plan, and me and Tony, we competed it to the maximum. That was a breakaway where Hayden was in, Matthew, sorry.
Yeah.
And me and Tony, we went the cobblestone section before the forest. That was a big sideways section, and we just killed everyone there, and we got away with the 2 of us. And we're starting to bridge across. And then at the final 60, 70 Ks, we came with the first group. And then the race happened. And we got in front with 5, 6 guys in the end. And I think, I wasn't on my best level. Probably Matthew wasn't on his best level, but really strong. And everybody just like, all guys that really wanted to win the race, but nobody was sticking out. It was the funnest day racing a classic of my career. Like so much, everybody was giving so much and super racing each other. And then the final as well with Matthew, everything looked to turn out very well for me. And I made one mistake, one time, 10 seconds not paying attention, that's going into the last corner, and Sepp van Marken came back and he just closed me in, and I started to sprint, and I couldn't come, and then the last 50 meters, you know, the legs weren't there to have, like, I didn't have the snappy speed up, but I think I could have passed him when I had the distance and the moment where I wanted to go, but yeah, and he won the race. And I was only disappointed for 5 seconds. I have to be so grateful and happy that and I was just happy. I was just happy. I didn't win my 5th one. In the end, it wouldn't make a difference for me. For Matthew, it made a huge difference, and I was super happy that I could finish the race in the 2nd position and had such a fun day on the bike, and being a bike rider again, fighting again.
I've recently just rewatched the final. I've watched that race a few times, but I rewatched the final the other day just preparing for this, and I forgot how great that final really was. Because there was, like you said, I think it was 5 guys there, was it? Just really attacking and going for it. And one of the pinnacle moments for me, and I'd love to know what it was like for you when you attacked, and for me it looked like that's the move, like at 2K to go. Was it a surprise? And this is definitely no disrespect to Matty, you know, a guy that was a guy that I looked up to my whole career and based a lot of my career off. But for me, when I watched him, he's going across the Boonen. This is amazing. Yeah,
but he was super strong that day. And the thing is, and he's he had to do it. Like I said, my first Roubaix, you have to race with your own possibilities. And Matthew was sitting on the wheels all the time. Before we came across, he was sitting on the wheels. He didn't have to pull. He was him, and nobody looked at him. And
I've been coming back from an injury. I shouldn't even be here.
When the leader comes, you know, I'll help him. There was no leader. He was the leader. And we came across, started racing again. He's there in the wheel, and I don't know who was waiting for. I was like, no, I don't have to race. So he was just sitting on the wheels and sometimes pull a little bit and saving energy. And then in the final 2Ks, I went away. There was a big moment, nice moment. You know, everybody was suffering. And the same, like I said in Flanders, like a little bit more. And I went and I was on the limits, and then Eamon just passes me. Like,
you're like, what the hell?
I found like this 1% that I had left somewhere. Like,
I couldn't believe you got back.
It was like a year out of my life to get back on that wheel, and I got back in the wheel, and okay, I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah,
but I didn't. He killed me.
I want to talk about where you're at now with motorsport.
Yeah,
because it's really exciting. I think, you know, we're so competitive. You know, professional athletes, you know, professional cyclists. I know you were talking about this. I've heard you talk about this, that in the final few years you were sort of thinking about this. Was it about keeping this competitive sort of edge, that you just knew you weren't finished doing something? You were just done racing bikes, but you want to do something else. How did you come into it?
I think it's not a search for adrenaline or anything. Just I think I will not be happy, or not the same level of happiness personally then, without having competition in my life. And that's something that I equally like as riding a bicycle, and I'm pretty good at it. So I just love it. And it's approaching a race weekend, having to deal with disappointment, you're losing more than you're winning. Like it's like a bike rider. And then sometimes winning and trying to get a team around you, especially now with the rally. It's all people that I really looked after and building a team around me and having the best people there available and just making that work.
Was it refreshing coming into a sport like that without the name? You know, like you were sort of like like a Hubbard. You know, you're like, well, I don't really know anyone here. I've got no expectation.
I went to the track already from when I was a kid with my grandfather. And so I knew a lot of people just growing up, like athletes from Belgian motorsports, and went to the races. So it wasn't completely new, but I made the mistake going into racing. I started my first year, I stopped racing in April, bike racing, and I started racing in June. I got my license, July, sorry. And did my first race in July on Spa. And I really wanted to be humble. I didn't want people to think like, hey, you know, this big Tom Boonen guy, the bike rider, comes in and he's racing his first year in a Porsche. Yeah. So I did like a Volkswagen Fun Cup, it's called, with the Beetle. It's a proper race car, but it's like a Beetle bodywork, and it's a monopole. So you're sitting in the middle of the car, like a tubular chassis, 200 horsepower engine, but it's fun to drive. And from there on, there's competitions with like more than 100 cars. You know, you're learning to race in a peloton. So it was good, but I spent 2 years, I think, I could have been on a higher level already than what I did. But like you say, you know, you're being welcomed in a world that isn't yours yet. And the first year, you know, you're still the bike rider, but after a year, you're getting results and you're winning a race. And now I'm just one of the guys there. You know, I'm a car race driver, I'm a rally driver, and they don't even talk about bikes anymore. So for me, it's a nice escape from my previous life. Yeah, which I still love, but you're not
talking about the same old stories, even though we've done that today. Like the same old stories over and over again. You're creating new sort of memories and stories.
New memories, and even my kids, you know, they know I was a bike rider, and they sometimes look me up on YouTube and stuff like that. That's what kids do these days. But for them, I'm a race car driver. Yeah. They have no memories of me as a rider. They were on the podium with me in the mall in my final race, but they were 1.5, and they only know it because they see the pictures. So they were 1.5 when I stopped racing. And I'm actually glad they didn't experience the mania from my highlight years, you know. But it's good this way.
What about, has there been a few things that you've noticed coming into motorsport that you're like, oh, I've got a big advantage because I was a pro cyclist? What are those things that have given you, that you look around the other guys that have given you an advantage coming in?
Oh, I think it's more physically, like, you know, you're in a good shape. And like I've done 24-hour races where I've been in the car like for 11 hours. And so physically you have a big advantage, but all the rest you have to learn.
What about the mentality of like, you know, the to go deep, you know, to go deep for 6 hours, you know, in a classic, to, you know, you've been there before, you've hurt yourself mentally. Yeah. So going deep in a car race, does that help?
It helps a lot, but
those guys are strong too.
They're really athletes. But I made also an evolution in my car racing career. So I started out and I wanted to do as much as possible. So drive. So I did a lot of endurance racing. So I did that for like 2-3 years, and I did a lot of 24-hour races, even around the globe. Then I was up to speed, so I started racing the open prototype cars. I did that for 3 years, just sprint racing, 1-hour races on my own. And then if the other guy makes a mistake, you know, it's you don't lose the race. If I make a mistake, it's up to me. But I won 2 championships in GT prototype. And then last year I did Carrera Cup with the Porsche. Everybody has the same car. The 30-minute sprint race with a standing start like Formula 1, but 30-minute sprinting. And that really gets you up to speed. And then this year I did my first rally in January with old Porsche, like Boucle de Bastogne it's called. It's a famous thing in Belgium. It's like 250 old rally cars.
Rally? That must be so different.
Yeah. And I got that delivered to me by Porsche. Like, you want to do this? It was like with the Rotmans, like the cigarette brand, the old Group B Porsche car. So I was like, oh yeah, it's on my bucket list, but I didn't have an entry into rally, but I always wanted to try it. And then I did that rally and I won. I won the rally in my class, like Group B. And So I said, fuck, this is more fun than circuit racing. So I did another 2 rallies.
Do you have someone there, like a navigator with you? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, I have my navigator. I've done all the season now in the Belgian National Championship with Erwin. He lives 2.5 k's from here, but he's like a legend. He's like 35 years professional co-driver from World Championship. Yeah. He was with Volkswagen Motorsport. He was the coordinator of the main program from the rally. He's 60 years old, but he's a legend. And I love it because he teaches me so much. And then we did 2 other rallies in historic, just to be a little bit out of the spotlight, with the Lancia Delta, the Martini Lancia.
Oh, yeah.
And got second in the first one, and the second one we fell out because the gearbox broke down. And I was like, I need to get some modern gear because, we're going to do all the season and we're going to finish first, or we're going to not finish with this old car. And then I got, in that 4 or 5 months, I got to know a lot of people. So now I'm racing with a Skoda R5 modern car, and we're doing really well. So yeah, I love it. It's so close to bike riding because there's a lot of work involved. You have to do the recon. You're making your own notes. You're dependent on your notes for the rally. There's no training. So the first time you're starting in the rally car is at the stage of the rally. And you have to look at a parcours. It changes all the time because there's people in front of you.
Just like a road race.
It's a road race with a car, and I love it. I fell in love with it from my first rally I did. And I'm doing that now next year for sure. So national championship again. Maybe 1 or 2 foreign rallies. And then the track race, the circuit racing, I've done 3 races only this year. So next year maybe again 2 or 3 or a little bit more. I'm not sure yet, but it's not the main.
What keeps you excited?
The main objective. It keeps me young, man. I'm 43 years old and I'm feeling like a 25-year-old kid.
All right, well, let's finish off if you're up for it. I've got a tiny little quiz for you.
Of course.
It's going to start with Roubaix. A couple of questions on Roubaix. See how well you know the race. Can you name the 3 MAAP riders who crossed the line together on the Roubaix Velodrome in 1996 when they finished 1, 2, 3?
Museo, Taffi, and Ballerini. Fiete? Bortolami. Oh.
Close. Question 2. Name 5 Roubaix sectors. Their official names.
Carrefour de l'Arbre. Hem.
Nice.
The Forest of Arenberg.
Yep.
Wam.
Yep. It's hard. I struggle with this.
Yeah, and then another one. What's the last one?
Or the very last one. I've got no idea what that's called.
Yeah, it's like Pec is also.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Pec, PECQ. I think is also a sector.
Very good.
But I know all the climbs in Flanders.
That's what I mean. When it comes to those,
who cares?
You just like, oh yeah, Sector 19, Wallers. Yeah, that's right. That's the one I know. How long is the Forest of Arenberg?
3.5.
2.4.
2.4. Oh no, that's the one after that is 3.5.
This is I found this one hard. How long is the track? The velodrome.
It's a pretty long one. Huh?
Yeah, I thought it was a normal size track.
No. It's like 400 meters?
It's 500.
500
From what I could find out, I didn't believe that when I was looking that up.
That's a long track.
Isn't it?
So you're doing 1K on the track, eh?
Yeah. What's your favourite part of Roubaix? Is it like, the velodrome? Is it Carrefour? Is it Arenberg? I don't know. What is your favourite part of the race when you think about, like the Tymberg or something? What's your favourite part of that race?
Favourite part's when it's finished.
Yes, the showers.
The podium. I actually like the forest because when you're strong and you get the good positioning and you can maintain the speed up there, pretty magical place, but it's so hard, so rough. I went there 2 or 3 years ago for a Belgian TV show. It was like they're doing all these experiments, like they want to get the science behind the sports achievement, the sports achievement. So they're looking back at it and what's the watts and what's this and how do you get this and how rare is this. So I went back there and I took my normal bike, and I have a steel bike now with 28 tires on, so it will be sufficient. But we went in and I had to do this sector, like turn back a few times. Yeah. So you're riding on the forest, just turn back on the cobblestones
and go back.
So you're standing still and then starting again. It's unfucking believable how hard it is when you're going over with 45 k's an hour. Like you maintain the speed, but the cobblestones, they're like open 5-6 centimeters and sticking out, and it's a hard part. But I like it. And then I like most for racing and the part before and the part after. That's always where there's something important will happen.
I think it makes it more impressive for us because most people ride it like very slow speed and they go there and they look at it. But yeah, I'm not going to say it's easier coming with momentum, but it sort of does feel like it. But no one's really going to experience it like we got to in the race, do they?
You arrive at 65 k's an hour there in the race. When you're at front, it's just like a big sprint, like a proper sprint going in and get in. And then actually you stop pedaling for a while, a little bit, just the first 100 meters and then get that momentum going. And then it's starting to shift down. Tick, tack, 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 and then you're dropping the speed, and then it starts to go up after the middle section, and then that's where it gets hard.
In trying to get to the end.
Yeah.
Tom, that's all I have for you today. It's been great to speak to you.
Yeah, same here, man.
Wow. Just so cool. I love hearing that again myself because, like I said, look, I am a true fan and he is a really good guy and he spoke so well. It was so interesting hearing about the stuff at Roubaix, but also the history, right back at Postal. I hope you guys really enjoyed that one. I love sitting down with him in person, like I said, recording that for you guys, and that is sort of, a bit of a bucket list thing for me to do. A massive thanks goes out to you guys for listening, Red Bricks Media for putting this podcast together, the Life in the Peloton team, and our proud sponsor, MAAP, who are helping me put the podcast together this year as well. Guys, if you want to hear more podcasts and a longer form of what we're doing here, I've got a brand new series that I'm doing with my mate, Swain Tuft, called Life in the Peloton Chronicles, and you need to be over at the Echelon to become a member at Life in the Peloton to hear those episodes. You can be in the Echelon or you can be back in the Doom line. They're the two tiers we've got. We're releasing one episode every month, a long format episode, like I said, where we chat about different topics. Coming up, we're going to be chatting about the classics. Of course, it's classic season. That's why this podcast is out at the moment. We're right around the corner from the big races. We're in the best time of the year, I think. And we've got a special episode coming out with Swaino and I over at the Chronicles talking about the ins and outs of what it is to race in the classics, what it is to live up there in Belgium for 3 weeks for the non-Euros. And we are going to just unpack that in a long format episode. So get across to lifeinthepeloton.com, go across to the Pello and sign up to hear these great episodes. Plus, there's a lot more in offer for you over there. I'm not going to go through it all today. Go across and have a read yourself. Guys, until next week, I loved having this pod. Like I said, cheers. That iconic music in this episode was composed by none other than the legend, Pete Shelley. Cheers, mate.